tuyển, chúng ta hãy di chuyển về vị trí thi đấu của mình. Xin mời.
You today have a successful compete and move on to the final rounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, and welcome. The moment has arrived. And of course, this is going to be the 31st SEA Games here in Vietnam 2021. My name is ICBaby12 and his name is Tafa, as we are going to be your commentators for today. My, oh my, we started with 7 nations across the globe and now we only 4 remains. This is going to be day 2 for the semi-finals and I'm looking forward to see who is going to come out on top. And to start things off, it is going to be Philippines as well as Singapore. But before that, I would like to shout out to our amazing tournament organizers, which is all currently organized by Vietnam Recreational and Electronic Sports Association, known as VRESAR, in cooperation with VNG Games, which is Mobile Legends Bang Bang publisher in Vietnam, as well as Moonton being the developers of Mobile Legends Bang Bang to make all this happen. Stafa, are you excited? Because this is going to be our first best of 3 series for today, and it's going to be all out between both Team Philippines as well as Singapore.
Yep, I think I personally am gonna be just as excited as everyone watching at home, because as you highlighted earlier, out of the 7 nations that started off the MLBB team event here at the 31st SEA Games, we are down to our final 4 survivors. But at the end of today, we will be only see 2 teams move on to the grand finals tomorrow. So there is going to be blood, sweat, and tears shed today as these teams play for a chance to keep their dreams alive and a chance to bring home the gold.
Exactly. To start things off, representing the Team Philippines, we have Soto, Gonzalez, Villaluna, Del Rosario, as well as Imam, kicking things off in Group A in day number 1, scoring with a flawless victory of 6-0 score marks, and that is just an amazing performance coming from them. However, their opponents, no stranger to the MLBBC.
Yep, it's gonna be none other than Team Singapore, Seoul, JPL, Sayla, Reminiscent, and Adamir, who just came off of a tiebreaker game, winning the best of 1 against Team Vietnam earlier in the morning to finally secure themselves the final semi-finals position today. This is going to be the first seed of Group A, Team Philippines, going up against the second seed of Group B, Team Singapore. Just purely based on statistics, Team Philippines are going to be the favorites to win this one, but we have already seen very unexpected things happen throughout this MLBB tournament, and so I'm excited to see how this will pan out.
Yep, I'm looking forward to see what kind of adaptations is going to be made thus far. In the group stages, it's all about making it towards the top 2. Pretty easy to do, pretty hard, but at the same time, everything can be expected. But before that, let's take a look at our predictions and who we think is going to be winning this series. It seems like, whoa, for the first time on the English broadcast, it's no longer a split vote, and both of us are going to be siding on Team Philippines. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I already mentioned it earlier, just purely based on statistics and gameplay, Team Philippines seem to be going into this first semi-finals of the day as the favorites. I think even not just our predictions, but I think a lot of you watching at home are going to be feeling the same as well. But of course, Team Singapore, they are no slouches. They have their own fans, their own supporters. They have made it here with their own efforts. And they are going to be showing the world that even the top MLBB team in Southeast Asia has weaknesses that can be exploited.
Don't worry, guys. We will not be bias casting on towards one team. We will do our best to be as neutral as possible. However, this is going to be our inputs for now, and that is going to be based on statistics as well. Like you said as well, Team Philippines has not been defeated yet. So it's pretty clear that most of us are going to be expecting this coming from Team Philippines. However, like we said as well, despite a very, very rocky start in day number 1 for Singapore, they managed to clean up their mistakes in today's tiebreaker and very convincingly take the win against Vietnam, making into a semi-finals. Hopefully, with that adaptations and the fix that they made from yesterday's performance, they are looking very, very focused. As you can see, the coach Young In, going to be leading for Team Singapore, is going to be guiding the team, hoping to try and take a jab towards the unstoppable force known as Team Philippines.
Something important to note here is that now that we are in the semi-final stage of the SEA Games, we are no longer playing best of 2 matches. matches. This is going to be the very first best of 3 match, and that does mean the first team to get 2 victories will be moving on and become our first participant in the grand finals. The loser, unfortunately, having to fight in the 3rd place bronze medal match later today. We'll find out which of those teams that is, because the draft has now officially begun.
Woo! This is going to be the best of 3 series coming in, and game number 1 we have Team Philippines on the blue side and Team Singapore on the red side. To kick things off, we are going to be seeing the usual bans coming in from Team Philippines, which is going to be the Ling as well as the Franco, and Singapore are going to be banning for the standard Valentina. Now, the question remains here, will Team Singapore bring something new? Because we know JPL is known for his very aggressive roaming playstyle as a roamer, but however, ever since coming to SEA Games, he has adapted to play the Enchanter healing support rather than these usual aggressiveness. Is it because to match up with Team Philippines meta, or is it what the team required him to do so?
I do think it's based on Team Singapore wanting to play a safer style of MLBB. So far, throughout the games that we've seen Team Singapore play, they tend to be a more passive early game team, and they don't tend to take very heavy risks. JPL, we see that he often will still overextend himself to try and secure objectives and kills for his team, but overall, their gameplay is a lot slower as compared to other countries.
Well, speaking of slower as well, Team Philippines averaged one of the highest, longest amount of games played throughout yesterday's performance. Every single game they have ended so far has lasted at least about 18 to 20 minutes above due to the nature of their composition. They love this late game oriented draft, and somehow they figure a way to actually drag it into the early stage. Maybe, and just maybe, Team Singapore might take an advantage and try to go early head on. However, it is very risky considering that their pressure is on, because if you think about it as well, the winner of this series is guaranteed a medal for the SEA Games, for the 31st SEA Games. And regardless, it may be gold or silver, whoever wins the series is going to be bringing nation's glory and pride for the country.
Yeah, but you can imagine that the stakes are going to be very high for both these teams here, so they have to be bringing their A game to the stage. So far, the first phase of bans has concluded, and both teams are mainly banning out early game options here to make sure that they have a safer early game. Obviously, both Team Philippines and Team Singapore tend to play less aggressively in the early game as compared to some of their peers to build up for that late game farm. Starting things off, Team Philippines can be locking in the Eve.
Yep, speaking of which as well, Team Singapore, they are going to be banning the Matilda, a very classic special of Villa Luna's composition. However, Philippines, they are not that afraid. He does have a big variety of hero pool. We've seen him play the Matilda, we've seen him play the Estes as well, but this time the Yi being prioritized, new in the fact that it may be flexed in a way where both maybe Imam or also Villa Luna can play that particular hero. So they are looking for those AoE CC styles, but we had a glimpse of what Team Philippines played with this composition from yesterday's game. Seeing that both the Angela is still available in the pool, they might consider drafting the Esmeralda as well as the Angela for themselves, but looks like that's not going to be the case for Singapore, as they will pick on their priority picks, which is Beatrix as well as Xavier. So Team Philippines, this is a good option to actually play it again. Angela on maybe the Esmeralda for themselves.
We'll see whether or not that is the choice for Team Philippines here, but I think that this is a very default start for Team Singapore. They especially like to prioritize Adamir's hero here in the first phase because he can usually become the late game carry for the entire team. And so far, his most consistent performance has been on this Beatrix. Just picking in the Xavier as well is actually quite unusual, considering that so far we have not seen Sayla play on this hero. So we'll see whether or not he can mimic the same types of sniping that we have seen other Xavier players do.
I definitely agree as well. In terms of range potential, Xavier and Yves does have the capabilities to match each other with a little bit, but Team Philippines, they are not going to go for Angela, but they will prioritize on the Archive jungle as well as the Esmeralda. Close enough, but we are going to be seeing the Del Rosario jungle special coming from Philippines, which they have shown during the group stage. It seems to me no other teams here in the SEA Games has figured out on how to deal with this jungle archive, and hopefully Singapore is going to be able to do it. But now, let's talk shop a little bit more. Singapore, even though that, we talked about how Adamir is going to be the core component for Team Singapore, is this the particular reason why JPL is forced to play an Enchanter style to further enhance his capabilities to actually get themselves into his win condition by using Adamir.
I think what's notable is that Team Singapore isn't very aggressive in the early game, right? So the reason why they're going for these Enchanter style supports is actually to kind of slow down the tempo of the game and play for more defensive healing styles rather than attempting to overly invade the enemy jungle. Especially since nowadays, a lot of teams like playing these tank jungle heroes, it's a lot more difficult to get those invades up and done. But it is still very important to get lane dominance early, which is why Team Singapore drafted Dirov to counter Esmeralda.
Definitely agreed as well. Keeping JPL's heroes open from the side Team Singapore means Team Philippines, on the other hand, has a little bit more flexibility. They are going to go for their usual combo picks. However, need I remind you as well, out of all 6 games the Team Philippines have played, the games that they kind of struggled a little bit was against the match with Team Myanmar, where they actually brought the Hellcut play. So would you say that Team Singapore may consider to go for a very early jungler that gives maximum impact to try and drag this out? But at the same time, going for the mix-up, the mix-up is going to be a little bit scary, considering that they are so used to playing to his late game potential. And would you say that Team Singapore might be playing into his Philippines play style, which is being very disciplined, very patient, waits until towards like the 20-30 minute mark where everyone's max out and then go for the push?
I think one primary problem with Team Singapore is that while they want to wait and delay the game long enough to get farm on their late game cores, they tend to lack the kind of discipline and decision making that Team Philippines is able to do as well. So far, throughout all of their victories, Team Philippines tends to be able to win just through mental battles. Even if they end up losing and falling behind in terms of farm, they are never that far behind and they're always on the lookout for an opportunity. Whereas we have seen Team Singapore seem to have a tendency to play passively when they are not certain what their win condition is.
Well, it seems to me Villa Luna's heroes is going to be targeted from the side of Team Singapore, and so far Team Philippines, they have drafted based on a composition of that well-balanced draft of having defense and offense to scale into a later stage game. However, need I remind you as well, the Estes needs to be respected in that regards, and Team Philippines, they may opt to ring it up in this game coming in from Villa Luna if they decide to go for it. But of course, Singapore, they are going to be banning off all of Villa Luna's heroes, which you can see the Matilda, the Lolita, as well as the Popo and Kuba in showing respects towards Team Philippines' performance yesterday.
Now, Villa Luna is going to be the backbone for Team Philippines, and many other teams have already known to give heavy respect to this roam player on the side of Team Philippines. This is not their entire hero pool though. Heroes like the Rafaela and of course their signature Estes are still open in the pool. I'm wondering if Team Singapore intend to draft out the Rafaela for themselves so that it doesn't go over to Team Philippines.
Now, let's talk about a little bit of flexibility as well. Oh my goodness, Team Philippines is going to be straight banning up the choke. This is a JPL special coming from Team Singapore. Ooh, seems like Team Philippines, they are eyeing to get themselves a medal. So this is going to be a great read coming in. However, Team Singapore, the question remains, besides JPL's heroes, is this or will it be a Dirov XP lane or is it going to be a jungle lane? As of yet, my predictions, I feel like this is going to be a Dirov XP lane just because the Esmeralda is going to be in play from Philippines. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this is confirmed going to be a Dirov EXP lane. Not only does it counter Esmeralda, we have seen Soul play on the Dirov before and he has been fairly effective on it. I think the big question now is, will they lock in JPL's hero just to narrow down Villa Luna's hero pool even further, or lock in Reminiscence jungler just in case? Nope, looks like it is going to be the Grok. And while nowadays we see teams go for the EXP lane Grok more often, I am inclined to believe this is a roam Grok instead.
This is a good draft coming from Singapore. However, need I remind you as well, this is going to be very risky. Keeping your options open as much as possible is great, knowing for the fact that this Grok may be flexed into his XP, maybe flexed into his roam, very similarly to Singapore's Dirov as well, where they have a Dirov that can be flex XP, flex jungle. So Singapore, they're keeping the final hero as a key pinch hero to deal with whatever Team Philippines is going to be coming up. In this case, is the Estes going to come up from Villa Luna, or is Villa Luna going to be sticking to play the Yi? But seems to me, okay, they are bringing the Natalia coming in. This is going to be a roaming Natalia coming from Team Philippines, and I believe so, it might be played by Villa Luna.
it will either be Villa Luna or Imam playing on this Natalia, but this is definitely a bit of a skew away from their typical style. They usually don't go for these over-aggressive early game heroes. Natalia very much needs to make an impact across the map or the hero will fall off very quickly. Gonzalez getting his Claude. This is pretty standard, but we'll see whether or not this change in style from Team Philippines will prove to be effective as Team Singapore lock in the Baxia jungle to finish off their draft. A very good counter to some of the draft on Team Philippines.
Yep, it is going to be the Esmeralda on top of it all as well. However, the question remains, can Team Singapore deal with the mobility that Gonzalez is going to be bringing to the table with the Cloud, who's known to be an efficient escape artist? But I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. Going for the comfort base from Singapore, as long as they win their lanes and make sure that Adamir doesn't have a hard time, is going to be the way to go. As of now, Team Singapore, they have to focus on Adamir's Beatrix to potentially defend against the aggressive Natalia that may or may not come from the side of Team Philippines. As of yet, the draft has been set. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be your players representing from Team Philippines as well as Singapore, duking it out for the first semi-finals game number 1. And of course, whoever takes the first game is going to be getting the morale that he needed to jump in towards game number 2.
Yep, this is a best of 3 series. So a first game victory or loss doesn't actually matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But the impacts it has on morale will be very notable. And so both these teams will want to get that advantage as soon as possible. We see confirmed this is going to be a roam Grok. Imam playing on Natalia with high and dry. So yes, he is absolutely going for the kills.
Yeah, that is going to be a roaming Natalia looking for kills as well. And I like how Team Singapore is going to have JPL go for his usual aggressive tankness. And I like how JPL is trying to find Imam and constantly trying to mirror the matchup so that this Natalia go not out of crazy. However, the assault comes in. You can see Adamir already taking a little more damage onto his Imam. And this is going to put a stress onto his laning phase against Gonzalez as of yet.
The annoying thing about having this Natalia around is that she can just roam around the entire map and chunk people out in the side lanes. Imam doesn't necessarily need to get kills, but will have much more movement speed as compared to JPL, and thus can apply much more pressure across the map. We can see that they're primarily focusing on Gonzalez's lane because they know that Adamir will be a threat later on.
It was a very interesting move as well, considering how Team Singapore played it. JPL was trying to cut off rotational aways from Imam, where Imam actually took the long way around back towards the purple buff and then hit towards beat. So Team Singapore, they might not know where he is, and because of this is going to be a little bit of damage heading towards Sayla's way. But mind you, this is going to be a slow play because Reminiscent, that hits for relatively early and they are going to be going super aggressive and they immediately punish Imam because of this play.
This is a good play from Team Singapore. They know that they are going to be stronger in this early game because of the Baxia, the Grok, and the Deroff. They need to make sure to gain a momentum advantage against Team Philippines so that they will be able to have more map control going into the mid game. Turtle now being contested.
They locked their Rosario in as well, but seems to me they will get the total buff. But here comes the real motivation to isolate the fight. They catch onto a Sayla, and just like that, Team Singapore will lose in the turtle trade, but they want to get a little bit more damage out of this. Unfortunately, they just don't have the burst potential. JPL, however, is going to get cancelled, and Imam walks into the bush and gets an easy taking, and that's going to be 2 kills in the back from Team Philippines.
A little bit of lacking map awareness and positioning from Team Singapore results in them getting caught out completely. They focus too hard on trying to contest the turtle away from Del Rosario, and this allowed Sayla to be targeted by Vela Luna in the back line. Imam even coming in to add insult to injury afterwards, finding JPL. This is the strength of Team Philippines. They know exactly members
and doesn't want to give him any sort of room to abuse the transcendent form. This is a great priority target. However, Team Singapore, their focus is not exactly on him. However, it is actually on Imam. But at the same time, is this the wisest choice? Because Imam is going to try and make an attempt onto as Team Philippines will get another easy pickings.
Yeah, and now Team Singapore wants to follow up. They want to catch Imam, but he's already out. Right now, the rotations on the side of Team Singapore are definitely much slower than that of Team Philippines. They are losing out, and now they want to find something right on top of Villa Luna, but Reminiscent doesn't get it because he's able to use the flicker to escape.
This is why Villa Luna is such a key player coming from Philippines, right? Every single time you make an attempt with him, it's so very difficult to kill him, and even if you know that you have to take him down, it's just very, very difficult to do so, considering that the amount of map treasure that Imam is doing just by not showing off the map is just giving off Team Singapore some very, very uneasy vibes. And you can see Team Singapore, they're just shifting their focus onto the turtle up top and making sure that Adamir will get some sort of backup. But looks like here comes the fight begins.
Yep, and they use the heavy spin,
Oh,
hitting
that's big.
two people against the wall instantly. Both taken down. Soul and Zayla gonna be the unfortunate victims. JPL does not manage to block Vela Luna with the Guardian's barrier, and thus that's going to be a free trade for Team Philippines.
Oh, that is huge, huge, huge. Like the mental warfare that Team Philippines is giving onto Team Singapore is starting to seep in, and slowly but surely Team Singapore are going to make even more mistakes. And what they did not expect was that they thought Team Philippines is going to be focusing on Adamir, but instead they themselves are actually also targeting Sayla. So Sayla's positioning becomes a little bit more crucial in all these fights to come.
I can't help but feel that Sayla might be a little bit out of his element here. We already know that this is the first time we've seen him play Xavier. Right now, he's going to be using Dawning Light. Vela Luna in a lot of trouble. No flicker available. Remanison gets a little bit of revenge on the enemy mid lane.
Nicely done coming from Team Singapore. They know for a fact that Sayla has been targeted multiple times and take advantage of the situation. They get a very, very nice kill. But is it enough to bounce back? But as of yet, the economy-wise is only about 1k shy apart despite losing in terms of skills. But Singapore, they still have a lot of map control, and Team Philippines, they have been dodging and dodging and dodging again. Imam finally reviews his position, but looks like Team Singapore, they're debating if they want to force this fight. Looks like there is no cavalry in the backline, so they are going to be reconsidering on attacking the top side.
One strength of Team Philippines is just the speed at which they are able to farm, but a flicker forward, what's not going to miss? Beautiful reaction timing by Gonzalez, escaping with the battle mirror image, and now Adamir not even able to take out the tier 1.
Oh, this is it, Imam. They want to go for the kill as well. Singapore, they trade their lives a little bit for the tier 1. They are going to get punished, and here like this, Imam finds the right target, and that's going to be Sayla immediately shut down. Just like that, as Team Singapore not expecting the rotations coming in. Imam very, very patient with his assassination, and because of that, Team Singapore just can't do anything about it as of yet.
Imam is fully aware of the fact that Adamir and Sayla are going to be easy pickings. The Xavier, most of all, if he manages to find them out of position. And Sayla so far has been getting caught over and over again. He doesn't quite have the utility you normally have on a hero like Kagura. Dawning Light, not going to be enough as Del Rosario picks up another turtle.
Oh, Team Singapore, they need Soul to win his matchup against Soto. However, look at how disciplined Soto is. He doesn't really want to go head to head. And as long as things doesn't go out of hand, I'm able to trade 50-50, the Esmeralda is going to be able to scale, where Team Philippines is going to continue to punish potentially either Sayla or Adamir. But as you get, Reminiscent from inside Team Singapore is still playing the defensive posture and play safe as much as possible, and seems to be a very mirror matchup coming from the Philippines, where they want to play into its late territories.
Yeah, we know that they're going to be primarily focusing on allowing Gonzalez and Soto to just scale up, farm up their items, and become unstoppable in the late game. Imam now in a little bit of trouble, but Reminiscent not able to find the Natalia.
Oh, that was so close. Soul, however, he's going to get caught off. You can see Del Rosario popping the heavy spin as well. He's going to push Soul into the wall, but do they have enough damage to fight this? Soul is trying his best to go for trades, but unfortunately, he is a little bit too far off to be picked off. Meanwhile, on the top side as well, we do see the fights coming in. Adamir going for the aggressive plays, gets a trade, trading Imam for him, his support, but at the same time, Team Singapore still loses out a 2-for-1 trade, but does give a little bit of economy to Adamir.
Yeah, and he is able to take out the top tier 1 tower, so that is going to mean less space for Gonzalez to get farm. Reminiscent as well, knowing that his team didn't get the best trade, is now going to move into the enemy jungle, steals the purple buff successfully. In terms of net worth though, Philippines still notably ahead, and now they're ganking Sayla again.
Oh, this is going to be hard as well, but looks like this heavy spin. They are going to catch on to Reminiscent, drops him down to his half HP, but this is a tank box here. They don't exactly want to go for it, but it seems like they will scare off Singapore a little bit to regroup, and seems like they are going to be grouping up as five to set up for a gank, potentially catching them off guard while rotating, but it seems like Vela Luna is going to get caught off. Great catch coming from JPL. They take him down, and just like that, the Lord is going to be up for grabs. However, Philippines, they're holding on strong with the middle lane. Del Rosario is going to be dead. Abyssum Strike is going to connect on the dot, but they don't seem to have damage, but Reminiscent will seal the deal. Meanwhile, Team Philippines is going to be focusing on the back lines. As you can see, Soto trying his best to focus on the Adamir. He needs one last auto attack, but can't seem to kill him. Adamir survives and gets the kill on of it all, and Team Singapore is going to come on top with this trade with a 2v3 win fight, and my goodness, Singapore, they come on top, but they cannot benefit from the Lord at all.
Yeah, that was a chaotic skirmish between both these teams, and at first it does look like Team Philippines has control of the fight as they are able to split up the members of Team Singapore to attempt to take them off one by one. Unfortunately, their heroes aren't quite scaled up enough yet, so they don't have enough consistent damage to actually take that, allowing Team Singapore to pick up a few kills in return.
This is very scary. Team Philippines, they need some sort of very strong frontliner to actually deal with JPL as well as Reminiscence. You can see the defense coming from Singapore to ensure that Sailor has his farm as well as the Beatrix is just annoying to deal with, and it's back to the drawing board for Team Philippines as they need to slowly farm out a little bit more so that Del Rosario and Soto can scale into the lane to actually match Team Singapore as of now.
Yep, but I don't think they're having too many issues with that. Yes, they did get slowed down a little bit because of that, but their farm is still on point. And now Del Rosario with the heavy spin going to be catching out JPL. Gonzalez slowly whittling him down, but not enough as the Dawning Light Imam jumping onto Zayla, picks him up, but will cost his own life. Adamir gonna flicker forward on top of Villa Luna, gets the double kill, but gonna end up losing his life in return. Soto now on top of Reminiscent won't be able to kill this box yet, but that's a 2-for-3 trade in favor of Philippines this time.
Oh, that was a little bit of mistakes coming from Team Singapore. They tried to go to kill onto Gonzalez, but Gonzalez was able to get a freebie because of the heavy spin locked out. Things would have looked a little bit soft. However, Soul, what is he doing? He's all by himself. He's trying to make a play. However, he's going to be poked apart. That's going to be mega kill onto Gonzalez as he's going to get 4-0-2 on the marksman. And just like that, they are back in action and they're looking to challenge towards Lord. They've got retributions. They've got the marksman available. And Team Singapore, Adamir is a little bit too far off. They've got to wait out on this.
We already see that Soto is scaling up to the point where it's very difficult for even Reminiscent to take him down. He's buying so much space for Del Rosario and Gonzalez. Imam in the backline. He's looking for Sayla once again. He's with Adamir back there. Heavy spin pops down. Real manipulation gonna trap them out. Imam, he finds Adamir. Gets the kill with Execute. He knows that the Beatrix is more dangerous. JPL uses the wild charge, but it's not gonna be enough. Dawning Light almost picks off Gonzalez. Soto dropping real low as well. Team Philippines gonna take that as their cue to disengage.
Oh my goodness. Imam, the assassin he is, he's been scouting around, waiting for right targets, and he knows who he needs to kill. Adamir taking advantage of that wall defense to call over, trying to force Philippines to react. Unfortunately, Philippines was just using it at the stalemate for a bait as a distraction to allow Imam to sneak up behind and get the kill. And my, oh my, Adamir walked into his own trap that he tried to set up for against Team Philippines.
Team Singapore just don't have enough awareness. They need to know that this Natalia is on the map and could be anywhere. Adamir, he could have probably taken the fight if he was on Wesker, but unfortunately, because he was not expecting Imam to show up, he was actually using Renner at the time, and well, in close quarters, a sniper rifle isn't going to do the job.
Exactly. Team Philippines is going to be trying to force a fight once again as they try to bait out the Lord. And Team Singapore is going to be responding as well. Sayla as well as Adamir looking for the fight, but looks like Rosario is going to catch on Reminiscent. Roman Vision tries to zone them out. JPL taking the full brunt of it as well. Likewise from Sayla, they're hesitating to fight, but Villa Luna starting to hurt like a truck. As Team Philippines, they won't lose out Imam in the process, but seems like Singapore can also exactly contest the Lord because of the potential snipe coming from Philippines. Soto is going to be called in to secure the map control onto the Lord, but Philippines, they still have a healthy chunk of HP. Looks like they will try and make an attempt onto the Lord. Yeah, Rosario does have the heavy spin very soon, but it is still once again a very patient bait coming from Team Philippines.
JPL trying to go in from the back line. Soul coming from the side, but they're not able to find the engagement. All things considered, that was an okay trade for Team Singapore. Madison jumping in onto Villa Luna, but he is out of position. Dawning Light only hitting Gonzalez. He's now stuck underneath the Void Crystal. Heavy spin, pushing Reminiscent back. They do catch out Soto in the Mystic Field. Adamir flickers forward again. Nibiru's pass and secures the kill. Soul going in, finds Gonzalez. They find Del Rosario as well. Imam, the only survivor, as Team Singapore walks over the Philippines.
Oh, that was huge coming in from Team Singapore, and just like that, it wiped the floor with them. But look at how tanky Reminiscent was, and because of that, they just completely obliterated them now. And now they're going for the base push as well, and just like that, they wiped the floor with Team Philippines. They closed up the game 13 minutes into the game, and guess what? What an upset coming in from the first game, and Team Singapore, they're ready to rumble.
This may be the most unexpected result for basically everyone watching right now, as Team Singapore, against all the odds, take the first game in a semi-finals match against Team Philippines one step closer to potentially be joining the ranks of the grand finals.
Well done, well done. Guess what? Our predictions are starting to be very, very shaky. The stats don't lie, but guess what? Stats don't lie doesn't mean everything is going to be the same, because eventually people will get better, get stronger. Team Singapore seems to have improved a lot in their decision making despite the constant invades of the Natalia coming from behind. Imam played really, really well in game number 1. Unfortunately, it came down to one wrong move. And what? That was just so weird. But Adamir was able to just completely shut down Soto and the back lines, who's trying to isolate the fight. And this split fight didn't exactly favor Team Philippines at all, just because of the constant lack of a presence of Imam, who's trying to hide in the bush to go into the backlines. Means that every single time they pick a fight, it's going to be like a 3v1 fight for the side of Team Philippines, and as well as for Team Singapore, it's going to be a 4v1 fight just because of how isolated the fight was.
I do have to admit that this kind of playstyle is a little bit uncharacteristic of Team Philippines, because we know them for the Ube strategy, the ultimate bonding experience. They